Hey everyone, it's Attorney Matthew Legan Sanchez here. Are you a parent that's going through a custody or divorce issue? If so, you probably feel like the phrase best interest of the child is everywhere you go. And you're probably wondering, what exactly is the best interest of the child standard? Let's find out. In New Mexico, courts believe that children are best served by being raised by both parents. But in order to decide what is in the child's best interest and what best serves the child, the courts always look through the lenses of what's in the child's best interest. When looking at the issue, judges don't look at just one issue. They look at all of the issues. Parents, on the other hand, sometimes they'll look at one issue. They'll really focus on one issue alone. Maybe it's drinking, maybe it's parental bonding. They'll look at just one specific issue. But judges like to look at all of the issues. Your judge is likely to look at the bonding between each parent. Is the child specifically bonded with one parent more than the other? Are both parents bonded equally? Does the child have absolutely no attachment with one of the parents and is deeply bonded with one of the other parents? If so, the judge is going to examine all of these factors with bonding to see what is in the child's best interest. Judges don't like to take children away from one parent that is deeply bonded with a child and the other parent has no relationship. So the bonding and attachment between parent and child is a factor that's going to heavily influence a judge's decision of what is in a child's best interest. Judges also really look at status quo after separation. Once you separate, the time sharing that you develop is cementing into place and becoming a status quo. Judges don't like to change a child's status quo. They don't like to change a predictable and regular schedule unless there's something pretty big. Judges tend to think if it's not broke, don't fix it. So if a child is really thriving in school, at home, there's a predictable schedule that's been going on since separation, your judge is going to be reluctant to change that status quo. So one of the biggest issues that a judge is going to look at when deciding what best serves a child with time sharing is the status quo after separation. Are there safety concerns in your case? Does one of the parents pose a danger to the child? Was there abuse? Is there neglect? Is CYFD involved? Any safety concerns whatsoever, whether it's drinking or drug abuse, domestic violence in the home, these are really going to impact the judge's consideration of what is in the child's best interest with custody and time sharing. Judges also really look at home environments. What is the home environment like? Is it an unstable home environment? Is one parent moving from one place to the other rapidly, not holding down a home? There's neglect going on in the home. There's domestic violence or criminal activity in the home. There's shady behavior in the home. There's mental health issues that pose a danger to the child within a home or substance abuse within a home. The judges really are going to look at the home environment to see what is in a child's best interest regarding time sharing. How actively involved are you with your children's life? If your ex or soon-to-be ex is always taking a child to dentist or doctor's appointment, to school, to parent-teacher conferences, all that, and you're never involved, you may want to start thinking about getting involved. It's not uncommon for a judge to ask a parent that claims, oh, I've had primary custody. Okay, well then what's the doctor's name? What's the pediatrician's name? Dr. Feelgood? You need to know what the doctor's name are. You need to know your teacher's name. You need to know what the dentist's name. Become involved with your case. Because if you're in court and you're telling the judge, oh yeah, I've always been primary caregiver the child's whole life, and the judge is quick and says, okay, well then what's your dentist's name? And the other parent, Dr. Gonzalez from Braces Unlimited. The judge can be like, okay, well that other parent clearly knows what's going on and they're going to be more believable and they're going to come across as more involved with the child. What does your work schedule look like? Do you work graveyards? Do you work some untraditional hours, 12 hours during the night? You work during the week when your child is sleeping? Judges are going to be really concerned with your work schedule. If you're asking for primary custody or 50-50 custody, but you work graveyards during the week, your judge is going to look at you and be like, come on, really? Can you really do 50-50 or primary custody when you're working all hours of the day and the night, and your child is going to just be left with a grandparent or daycare? Judges don't like to put children with grandparents or with daycare over another parent. So if one parent is available and the other parent's not, judge is going to lean in that one parent's favor, and they're going to consider the child's best interest to be with that one parent primarily. So how do judges decide what is in the child's best interest? How do they gather all the evidence? One of three ways usually. The first way is through an evidentiary hearing. Evidentiary hearing is basically just trial, what you see on TV, lawyers up there, he's opening statement, calling witnesses, introducing text messages and videos or what have you. Judge hears all the information, maybe hears from a counselor, usually don't like to testify, but like a family member, hears from the parents, and based on all this evidence, the judge then makes a decision based on the best interest of the child. Increasingly, evidentiary hearings are becoming less and less common because there's a lot of evidence that's difficult to get in through an evidentiary hearing. Rules of evidence, hearsay, confrontation clause, all of those buzzword legal terms make a trial setting difficult to actually decide what's in the child's best interest. Second most common way for judges to decide a child's best interest in Albuquerque is through court clinic. And court clinic is a service provided by the court. It facilitates either mediation or interviewing children and parents and then making recommendations on what is in the best interest of the child. Judges like to use this because then it's less artificial than a trial setting, and you can hear the information from the child. You can see how the child bonds with the parents. You can talk to collateral sources such as counselors or family members. And it's a more authentic way of actually gauging what is in the child's best interest. So most judges will want to use court clinic or a guardian ad litem process to decide what is in the child's best interest. Third most common way, guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem process is similar to court clinic. Guardian ad litem is an attorney that represents the child and does an investigation to determine what's in the child's best interest. It's more thorough than court clinic, but then that also equals a lot more expense. We're talking the expense of like a cheap used car. Usually a guardian ad litem is gonna be somewhere between like $5,000 to $10,000, maybe even more depending on the complexity of the case. But $5,000 to $10,000 is a good ball frame of what the guardian ad litem process is gonna cost. It's more intensive than court clinic. Court clinic is usually one day. Guardian ad litem process can stretch out. There's maybe a home visit, talking with CYFD if they're involved, talking with family members, reviewing text messages or other evidence. More intensive equals more expense. But this is a way that the court usually will want to decide what the child's best interest is and get a more complete and holistic viewpoint on what's going on with the child's life, other than just an evidentiary hearing. So if a guardian ad litem gets involved, they will make recommendations and there will ultimately be a report back hearing. Do you have specific questions about your case and what is in the best interest of the child in your case? If so, call me. Call attorney Matthew Ligon Sanchez at 505 Sanchez. I'll talk to you about your case, your children, your individual fact pattern, and we'll get to the bottom of your specific case.